The pyramids and the Sphinx on the Giza plateau are likely thousands of years older than conventional researchers suggest. In fact, these ancient structures may predate ancient Egyptian civilization by thousands of years. Many scholars point to compelling evidence suggesting that the Giza plateau was heavily inundated in the past. Interestingly, given the evidence found at the Giza plateau, the pyramids and the Sphinx could be some of the megalithic structures that survived the Great Flood. Researchers suggest that the Sphinx Temple, and the first 20 layers of the Great Pyramid of Giza show erosion due to deep water saturation. Much has been speculated about the Great Pyramid of Giza and its enigmatic companion, the Great Sphinx. Although we still have no absolute clue as to who erected the Great Pyramid and who managed to carve the Great Sphinx, numerous theories have been proposed in an attempt to explain two of the most mysterious constructions ever built on the surface of the planet. Although many questions remain unanswered about the Great Pyramid of Giza, we still stand in awe of the complexity and precision of this incredible ancient structure thousands of years after its creation. How is it possible that thousands of years ago people managed to quarry and transport huge stone blocks and incorporate them into the construction of one of the most enigmatic ancient structures on Earth? Perhaps the even greater mystery is how ancient humanity managed to align the Great Pyramid of Giza so precisely. The Great Pyramid of Giza is the most precisely aligned structure in existence, facing true north with only an error of 3/60ths of a degree. The position of the North Pole changes over time, and the pyramid was perfectly aligned at some point. Additionally, the Great Pyramid is located at the point where the east-west parallel that crosses most of the land and the north-south meridian that crosses most of the land intersect in two places on Earth, one in the ocean and the other being the Great Pyramid itself. According to researchers, around 10,450 BC, the Sphinx and the three pyramids were perfectly aligned with the Orion constellation known as the Orion Belt. The Great Pyramid contained 4 long internal shafts that were precisely aligned with specific stars in the sky. Those in the south aligned with Sirius and Orion, while those in the north aligned with Ursa Minor and Alpha Draconis. However, perhaps most impressively, the entire landscape of the Giza necropolis, including the pyramids and the Sphinx, shows signs of erosion. This has led researchers to suggest that certain areas of this powerful necropolis were once submerged under the sea, and a recently discovered fossil makes this theory much more plausible. Robert Schoch, an American associate professor of natural sciences at the College of General Studies, has become well known for advocating the water erosion hypothesis of the Sphinx. Dr. Schoch was one of the first researchers to truly address the theory that the plateau structures are much older than previously thought. In the early 1990s, he suggested that the Sphinx was thousands of years older than archaeologists believed, dating back to 5000 to 9000 BC. This suggestion was based on the pattern of water erosion found on the monuments and surrounding rocks. However, Dr. Robert Schoch is not alone in suggesting that we are looking at evidence that these ancient structures were once submerged. Archaeologist Sharif El-Morsi, who has extensively worked on the Giza Plateau for over 2 decades, suggests that the Giza Plateau was inundated by a wave. The location of the Menkaure Temple in particular may have been an ancient lagoon when sea levels covered the necropolis, the Sphinx, and the temple complex. Other monuments in the area were also mentioned. In an article published on the Gigal Research website, Mr. Morsi stated the following: El-Morsi argues that the flood was extremely significant, reaching approximately 75 meters above the current sea level, creating a coastline that extended to the Khafre complex near the Sphinx at the Menkaure Temple. Additionally, El-Morsi suggests that there are signs in the monuments and surrounding blocks indicating the presence of tidal waves in the past, suggesting even a tidal zone of about 2 meters. However, several other theories have been proposed by different scientists. Some researchers suggest that the sea urchin found in limestone was exposed by erosion and that the fossilized creature was part of the original limestone formed 30 million years ago. However, Morsi countered these claims in an interesting way, suggesting that the creature was cemented or petrified relatively recently. He cited evidence that the creature was found gravitationally placed on the ground, that the fossil was in nearly perfect condition, and that it was located within the intertidal zone of the lagoon, which contrasts with the small fish typically found in limestone blocks. Mr. Morsi stated the following: two Ukrainian scientists who presented their study at the International Conference on Geoarchaeology and Archaeomineralogy in Sofia, entitled Geological Aspect of the Problem of Dating the Construction of the Great Egyptian Sphinx, suggest that the Great Sphinx of Giza is hundreds of thousands of years old and shows clear evidence of water erosion. According to Manichev and Parkhomenko, they firmly believe that the Sphinx was submerged for a long period, and to support this hypothesis, they reference existing literature on geological studies of the Giza Plateau. According to Manichev and Parkhomenko's claims, despite the opposition from many to the theories proposed by them, as well as by Schock, there are those who firmly assert that the splendid monuments found on the Giza Plateau are definitive evidence of pre-Diluvian structures. These, they argue, were erected by a completely distinct civilization that preceded that of the pharaohs, possibly before the catastrophic event known as the Great Flood, described in various ancient accounts from different cultures. Although the idea of a global flood is contested by many, researchers indicate that, over the past 140,000 years, sea levels have fluctuated by more than 120 meters in different regions of the world. Renowned underwater archaeologist Robert Ballard explored the depths of the Black Sea in search of traces of an ancient civilization dating back to the times of Noah, suggesting the possibility of the veracity of the biblical flood mentioned in ancient Sumerian texts. Ballard established a timeline of events by carbon dating shells found along the ancient coast, estimating that the catastrophic flood occurred around 5000 BC, a date correlated with the historical flood of Noah according to many scholars. The narrative of the Great Flood, sent by God or gods to punish humanity for its sins, is disseminated in various religions and cultures around the world, dating back to the oldest recorded stories. The prevalence of these flood narratives, from India to ancient Greece and Mesopotamia, raises questions about their possible veracity. Could these accounts be a collection of myths or isolated incidents? Or was the Great Flood a single global catastrophe that left an indelible mark on humanity's collective memory over millennia? The persistence of these narratives over time suggests that the event was of extraordinary proportions, affecting successive generations. This raises the intriguing possibility that the pyramids of Giza and the Great Sphinx were built before the Great Flood by an ancient civilization, possibly predating even the oldest records of Egypt. Perhaps these structures were erected in a pre-desert era and predate the current form of humanity.